The Great Hall of Station Orinth was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds formed near the top. Lights from 47 different worlds floated in the air like captured stars. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their assigned places, ranged in a circle that put Earth's delegation at the very bottom. Ambassador Eunice stood at the speaking platform. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed nothing but calm respect. She had practiced this moment for months. Every word was chosen with care. Honored representatives, she began, Earth has followed every rule of the Ascension Treaties for 18 years. We have limited our fleet to 40 ships. We have stopped all weapons research. We have opened our borders to your inspectors. We have done everything asked of us. She paused and looked around the massive chamber. Most of the alien delegates were not even looking at her. Some were talking among themselves. Others were checking their communication devices. The Corvani delegation sat in the highest seats, their gray skin and 4 eyes, giving them an expression of permanent disgust. Today we ask the Assembly to grant Earth full membership status. We believe we have earned this right. Una stepped back from the platform. For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter started. It came first from the Velith section. Their delegate, a tall creature with scales like polished metal, let out a sharp barking sound that passed for amusement among his kind. Earned? He said. The animals believe they have earned something. More laughter spread through the chamber. The Rothery representative, a being made mostly of floating gas contained in a magnetic field, pulsed with bright colors that indicated humor. Perhaps we should vote on whether to give membership to the bacteria in our water systems as well. They have also followed the rules. Admiral Tejo sat behind Una. He was 63 years old. He had served Earth's military for 40 years. He had commanded ships, won battles, and buried friends. Now he wore a ceremonial uniform with no weapons, no rank insignia that meant anything here. His hands rested on his knees. They were shaking, not from fear. From something far more dangerous, the Corvani High Speaker rose from his seat. His name was Drevnik, and he had led the assembly for 30 years. He looked down at the human delegation the way a person might look at an insect on their food. Let us not waste more time, Drevnik said. The humans are clever. We have said this before. They learn to copy our technology. They learn to speak our languages. They learn to build ships that do not immediately explode. He paused for effect. But learning to copy is not the same as being civilized. A trained animal can perform tricks. That does not make it equal to its trainer. Una's expression did not change. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat, but her face remained still as stone. We will vote, Drevnik announced. All in favor of granting Earth's full membership status? 6 lights appeared in the chamber. 6 votes out of 47. Una recognized them. Small species. Weak species. Species that the larger powers ignored just as they ignored Earth. All opposed? 41 lights. The rest did not bother to vote at all. Drevnik smiled. At least, his face moved in a way that humans had learned to recognize as a smile. The motion fails. Earth will remain in provisional status. Perhaps in another century, when your species matures, you may ask again. The Velith delegates spoke again. If they survive that long, short-lived creatures. It is almost sad. Admiral Tejo stood up. Every alien eye in the chamber turned to him. Some reached for weapons that were not there. Humans had a reputation for violence, after all. It was one of the reasons they were kept restricted. But Tejo simply straightened his uniform. He looked at Drevnik. He looked at the Velith delegate. He looked at everyone who had laughed. Thank you for your time, he said. His voice was quiet, controlled. We will remember this day. I'm sure you will, Drevnik replied. You may go. Una stepped forward one last time. I would like to request the official transcript of today's proceedings. For our records, it's caused a small stir. It was an unusual request. Most species preferred to forget their humiliations, not document them. You wish to have a record of your failure? Drevnik asked. We wish to have a record of everything that was said today. Every word, every vote. Every response, Drevnik waved one of his four hands. Give it to them. Let them read it to their children and grandchildren. Let them remember their place. A data chip was handed to Yuna. She took it carefully, as if it were precious. Then she bowed slightly to the assembly. We will remember, she said. All of it. The human delegation left the chamber. Behind them, the laughter continued. On the transport back to their ship, Tejo finally spoke. 18 years, he said. 18 years of this. Yuna did not answer immediately. She was composing a message on her personal device. When she finished, she looked at the Admiral. 18 years of waiting, she said. The waiting is over. She sent the message. One word. Greenhouse. Confirmed, 12 hours later on Earth, Director Hanzu received the message in his office. He was a thin man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. He read the message 3 times. Then he stood up and walked to the elevator. The elevator went down. It kept going down for a very long time. When the doors opened, Hansu stepped into a room the size of a city. Screens covered every wall. Officers sat at hundreds of stations. In the center of the room, a massive display showed the entire galaxy. Everyone stood when Hansu entered. You all know why we are here, he said. 18 years ago, they came to our world with guns pointed at our heads. They told us to sign their treaties or die. We signed, we smiled. We said yes to everything. He walked to the central display. With one touch, thousands of red dots appeared across the galaxy map. Hidden locations. Secret shipyards? Weapons factories buried in asteroids and moons. They thought we were beaten. They thought we were tame. They laughed at us today in their great hall. Hansu turned to face his officers. Tonight, we stop smiling. Tonight, we show them what humanity does when it is pushed into a corner. He gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Wake up the Ghost Fleet. Captain Mina stood on the bridge of a ship that did not exist. At least, that is what the rest of the galaxy believed. The HSS Vengeance was 3 kilometers long. It carried weapons that had been banned by galactic law for 200 years. It had a crew of 4,000, and until tonight, it had been sleeping in a pocket of folded space, invisible to every sensor in the known universe. All systems online, reported Lieutenant Wu Jin from his station. He was young, only 28. He had trained his entire adult life for this moment, but training was not the same as reality. His hands were steady on the controls, but his voice carried a small shake. How many ships are responding? Mina asked. 2,417, Captain. All Ghost Fleet vessels are awake and awaiting orders. Mina allowed herself a small smile. For 18 years, humanity had shown the galaxy 40 old ships, 40 pieces of junk that could barely fly. The aliens had inspected them. They had laughed at them. They had used them as proof that humans were not a threat. They never found the other 2,400. Play the historical file, Mina ordered. I want everyone on this ship to remember why we are here. The main screen flickered. An old recording began to play. It showed Earth from space, 18 years ago. Beautiful, blue, peaceful. Then the alien ships appeared. Hundreds of them. They surrounded the planet like a cage. A voice spoke over the images. It was Director Hanzu, much younger then. They gave us a choice. Sign the Ascension treaties, or watch our cities burn. They said it was for our protection. They said we were too dangerous to be left alone. They put chains on us and called it kindness. The recording showed human leaders signing documents. Their faces were empty, defeated. Behind them, alien soldiers stood with weapons ready. We signed. What else could we do? Our ships were nothing compared to theirs. Our weapons were toys. They had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. We had barely reached our own moon a century before. The image changed. Now it showed a small room. A few men and women sat around a table. Their faces were hard with anger. But while we signed with one hand, we planned with the other. Project Greenhouse was born that night. We would pretend to be weak. We would accept their insults. We would follow their rules. and in the shadows, we would build. New images appeared. Secret factories hidden under oceans. Shipyards carved into the dark side of the moon. Weapons laboratories and asteroids that drifted far from any patrol route. We studied everything they gave us. We took apart their technology and learned how it worked. Then we made it better. The Corvani thought their jump drives were the best in the galaxy. Ours are faster. The Velith believed their plasma weapons could cut through any shield. Ours are stronger. The Rothari were proud of their detection systems. Ours can see through theirs like glass. The recording ended. Captain Mina stood in the silence that followed. That was 18 years of work, she said to her crew. 18 years of biting our tongues. 18 years of watching our people be mocked, imprisoned, treated like animals. Some of you have family in the Corvani labor camps. People taken because they dared to speak against the treaties. She walked across the bridge, looking at each officer in turn. Today Ambassador Yuna stood before the Galactic Assembly and asked for equality. Do you know what they did? They laughed. They called us animals. They told us to come back in 100 years. Lieutenant Wu Jin looked up from his station. Captain, are we really doing this? Once we show ourselves, there is no going back. Nodded. You are right. There is no going back. For 18 years, we had two choices. Submit or die. Tonight, we choose a third option. He turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to the fleet. The officer nodded. Channel open, Captain. All ships receiving. Mina spoke clearly, knowing that 4,000 crews across 2,000 ships were listening. This is Captain Mina of the HSS Vengeance. 18 years ago, they told us we were nothing. They put their boot on our neck and told us to be grateful. We smiled. We nodded. We said thank you. And every single day, we prepared for this moment. She paused. Across the fleet, men and women held their breath. In a few hours, Ambassador Yuna will send our message to the galaxy. We are withdrawing from every treaty, every agreement, every chain they put on us. And when they ask what gives us the right to do this, we will show them. On the main screen, a map appeared. It showed the positions of every Ghost Fleet ship. They were spread across the galaxy, hidden in places the aliens thought were empty. In a few hours, they would all appear at once. The largest military force ever assembled by any single species. They thought they knew us, Mina continued. They thought we were weak because we did not fight back. They were wrong. We did not fight because the time was not right. Now the time is right. Now they will see what 18 years of silent rage looks like, Lieutenant Wu Jin reported from his station. Ambassador Yuna's message is ready to transmit. All treaty withdrawal notices prepared. Mina gave the order. Send it. Across the galaxy. Communication arrays lit up. Every government, every military command, every news service received the same message at the same moment. The words were simple. The United Earth Government hereby withdraws from all treaties signed under the Ascension Protocols. All restrictions on human military activity are no longer recognized. All claims of authority over human citizens are rejected. We remember every insult. We repay every debt. For exactly 4 minutes, there was silence. The aliens read the message. They checked to make sure it was real. Many of them laughed again. Earth had 40 ships. What could 40 ships do? Then the Ghost Fleet revealed itself. 2,400 warships appeared out of nowhere. They materialized at every major trade route, every border station, every strategic point in the galaxy. Each one was larger and more powerful than anything Earth was supposed to have. Captain Mina watched the chaos unfold on her screens. Alien commanders were screaming for information. Governments were demanding explanations. Military fleets were scrambling to respond, but they were too slow. Humanity had planned every move for 18 years. Lieutenant Wu Jian looked at the screens with wide eyes. They really had no idea, Nomina said. They saw what they wanted to see. A weak species. A beaten enemy. They never thought to look deeper. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Only cold satisfaction. They spent 18 years teaching us that we were nothing. Tonight, we teach them what nothing can become. The first phase was complete. The galaxy was awake, and humanity was done hiding. The first 48 hours changed everything. Fleet Master Soleth had commanded Velith warships for 60 years. He had fought in 3 major wars. He had never lost a battle. When his scouts reported human ships at the border, he laughed just like everyone else. Then he saw the numbers. Then he stopped laughing. There must be an error, he said to his officers. The humans have 40 ships. Our sensors showed 200. No error, Fleet Master. 200 human vessels. They are surrounding our position. Soleth looked at the tactical display. His fleet had 35 ships. The humans had brought nearly 6 times that number. And these were not the old, weak ships that Earth was allowed to keep. These were something else entirely. Something that should not exist. They are hailing us, the communications officer reported. Put it through. A human face appeared on screen. A woman with short, dark hair and cold eyes. Her uniform was black with silver markings. Nothing ceremonial about it. Everything about her said war. This is Captain Mina of the United Earth Fleet. You are surrounded. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your engines are slower than ours. Your reinforcements are 4 hours away. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to give you a choice. Soloth's scales rippled with anger. You dare threaten the Velith Dominion? We dare nothing. We simply state facts. 18 months ago, your fleet escorted our diplomats to Station Orinth. You flew circles around their ship for 3 hours, just to remind them who was in charge. Do you remember that, Fleet Master? Soleth remembered. It had been amusing at the time. Today, the situation is different. Surrender your weapons, and you will not be harmed. Your crews will be returned safely. This is not revenge. This is simply the new reality. The Velith Fleet Master looked at his options. He had none. His ships were old compared to these human vessels. His weapons could not even scratch their shields. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be helpless. We surrender, he said. The words tasted like poison. Wise choice. Prepare to be boarded. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human fleets did not attack civilian targets. They did not bomb cities or destroy stations. Instead, they struck military bases and captured strategic points. They blocked trade routes and forced alien fleets to stay in port. It was not a war of destruction. It was a war of control. On the Corvani border world of Vesic, Sergeant Bora led her ground team through the gates of Labor Camp 7. The guards had already fled. They knew what was coming. Bora was 34 years old. Her father had been sent to this camp 8 years ago. His crime was speaking against the treaties at a public meeting. She had not seen him since. Move carefully, she ordered her squad. There may be traps. Check every building. They found the prisoners in long concrete structures with no windows. Hundreds of humans, thin and weak from years of hard labor. They looked up at the soldiers with confusion, some with fear. Who are you? An old man asked. His voice was rough from years of not speaking above a whisper. Bora removed her helmet so they could see her face. We are the United Earth Military. We are here to take you home. The old man shook his head. Earth abandoned us. They signed the treaties. They let them take us. No. Bora stepped closer. Her eyes were burning, but she would not cry. Not yet. Earth never forgot you. Earth was preparing. For 18 years, we built and planned and waited. Today, the waiting is over. She activated a communication device on her wrist. A recorded message began to play. It was Director Hanzu's voice. To all human citizens held in foreign labor camps, you were not abandoned. You were not forgotten. Every name was recorded. Every location was tracked. We could not come for you before because we were not ready. Now we are ready. Now we are coming. Hold on. We are bringing you home. The old man began to cry. Others joined him. Years of pain and hopelessness breaking apart, Bora found her father in the third building. He was 58 years old, but looked 80. His hands were scarred from work. His eyes were empty until he saw her face. Bora? His voice cracked. Is this real? It is real, father. I told you we would come. I promised. On Station Orinth. Admiral Tejo stood in the center of the Galactic Assembly Chamber. The same room where they had been mocked 2 days ago. Now it was half empty. Many representatives had fled. Others were too afraid to leave their quarters. Speaker Drevnik sat in his high seat, but he no longer looked proud. His 4 eyes darted around the room, looking for help that was not coming. This is madness, he said. You cannot do this. The treaties are law. The treaties were chains, Tejo replied. He had finally removed his ceremonial uniform. Now he wore the true insignia of his rank, Supreme Commander of United Earth Forces. We wore them because we had no choice. Now we have a choice. The other species will unite against you. They will crush you, will they? Tejo gestured to the empty seats. The Rothri Coalition has already requested separate peace talks. The Doth Collective has declared support for Earth. The minor species are celebrating in their streets. You've spent centuries bullying everyone smaller than you. Did you think they would rush to save you? Drevnik had no answer. Ambassador Yuna entered the chamber. She walked to the speaker's podium and placed a document on it. This is the Terran Accords, she said. New terms for humanity's place in this galaxy. You have 72 hours to sign. We suggest you read carefully. Drevnik looked at the document like it was a snake. And if we refuse, Yuna smiled. It was not a friendly smile. 18 years ago, you surrounded our planet and gave us a choice. Sign or burn. We are being much more generous. We are giving you 3 whole days. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Admiral Tejo followed her. Behind them, Drevnik sat alone in his high seat, realizing for the first time what it felt like to be powerless. Outside, Yuna allowed herself a moment of emotion. Her hands were shaking slightly. It is strange, she said. I imagined this moment for so many years. I thought it would feel better. Tejo nodded. Revenge never feels as good as we hope, but this is not revenge. This is justice. There is a difference. I hope so, Yuna said. I truly hope so. They walked toward the human section of the station. Around them, alien species watched with new eyes. Fear, respect, wonder. The animals had become something else, entirely, and the galaxy would never be the same. The old order was dying, but it did not die quietly. On the Valeth homeworld, military leaders screamed at each other in their war chambers. Their greatest fleet had surrendered without firing a shot. Their colonies were blockaded. Their trade routes were closed. In 1 week, humans had done what no enemy had achieved in 10,000 years. We must counterattack, demanded Supreme General Vorith. Every ship we have, strike at Earth directly. With what? Replied Admiral Thesa. Half our fleet is trapped in port. The humans control the jump points. Any ship we send will be destroyed before it gets close. Then we die fighting. Better than this shame, but others disagreed. The Veleth Empire was built on trade and conquest. Without trade, their economy would collapse. Without conquest, their people would turn on each other. Some leaders were already whispering about negotiation. About surrender, the Corvani faced similar problems. Speaker Drevnik called an emergency meeting of the High Council, but only half the members attended. The others were too busy protecting their own territories. The humans demand too much, Drevnik argued. Full equality. Reparations. A seat on the High Council. If we agree, we show weakness. Other species will make demands. They're already making demands, replied Councillor Yeveth. The Doth Collective announced support for Earth this morning. The minor species are organizing. They see what humanity did, and they are asking why they cannot do the same. Then we crush them all. United action against united. Yeveth laughed bitterly. There is no unity. The Rothri are negotiating with humans in secret. The Velith are fighting among themselves. We are alone, Drevnik, because for 1,000 years we made sure no one would want to help us. Different arguments filled different rooms. General Junki stood before the military council with fire in his eyes. He was 60 years old, a veteran of humanity's underground resistance. He had spent 2 decades building the Ghost Fleet. Now he wanted to use it. We have them on their knees, he said. The Corvani military is scattered. The Velith are weak. If we strike now, we can break them completely. Disarm their fleets. Occupy their worlds. Make sure they can never threaten us again. Counselor Hyane listened quietly from her seat. She was the Minister of Reconstruction, responsible for the thousands of freed prisoners returning from alien labor camps. She had seen what cruelty looked like up close, and then what? She asked softly. Junki frowned. What do you mean? We occupy their worlds. We disarm their fleets. We become the masters and they become the servants. How is that different from what they did to us? Because they deserve it. Do their children deserve it? Their farmers? Their workers who never voted for any of this? Hyone stood up. Her voice remained calm, but her words cut deep. 18 years ago, we were the victims. If we do what you suggest, we become the oppressors. We become everything we hated. The council fell silent. They had spent so long preparing for war that they had not fully considered what came after. Director Hanzu spoke from his chair at the end of the table. Both of you are right. We cannot appear weak, but we also cannot become monsters. We must find a middle path. In space, Captain Mina faced her own moral test. The Vengeance held position at the Corvani border. Her sensors showed civilian ships fleeing from nearby colonies. Thousands of families running away, afraid of what humans might do. I think we are going to kill them. Lieutenant Wujin said quietly. Mina watched the streams of refugees on her screen. Small ships packed with people. Children pressed against windows, looking out at the massive human warship. Open a broadcast channel, she ordered. Wide frequency. All civilian bands. Channel open, Captain. Mina spoke slowly and clearly. This is Captain Mina of the United Earth Fleet. To all Corvani civilians, we are not here to harm you. We do not make war on families. We do not make war on children. Our fight is with those who wronged us, not with ordinary people trying to live their lives. Go home. Be at peace. You are safe. The broadcast repeated in every Corvani language. Slowly, some of the refugee ships stopped running. Some even turned back. Wujin looked at his captain with new respect. Do you think they believe us? Some will. Some will not. But we must try. We are not them. We refuse to become them. The counterattack came 3 days later. The Velith gathered every ship they could find. 200 vessels, everything they had left. They jumped into human-controlled space near the Corvani border. Hoping to surprise the enemy, they found 600 human ships waiting for them. Fleetmaster Soleth, captured during the first engagement, watched the battle from a cell on a human station. He had been treated well. Good food, clean room, even access to news feeds. Now, he watched his people die. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, 160 Velith ships were destroyed or disabled. 40 managed to escape. The humans lost 12 vessels. How? Soleth whispered. How are they so strong? A human guard stood nearby. She was young, barely 25. She heard his question. 18 years, she said. 18 years of studying you, learning your tactics, finding your weaknesses. You spent that time laughing at us. We spent it preparing. After the battle, Soleth requested to speak with Admiral Tejo. The request was granted. I want to help you, Soleth said. I want to end this war before more of my people die. I have information. Fleet positions. Command codes. Military secrets. Tejo studied the old Velith warrior. Why? Your government will execute you for treason? My government is going to get millions killed. They would rather die than admit they were wrong. I would rather live and see my grandchildren grow up. Taeho nodded slowly. We are not monsters, Fleet Master. We remember what it was like to be powerless. We do not enjoy watching others suffer. He extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Give us the information. Help us end this quickly, and we will protect you and your family. Soleth took the hand. His scales were cold against human skin. I never thought I would say this to a human, but thank you. We do not forget, Taeho replied, but we can forgive. That is the difference between justice and revenge. On Station Orinth, the 72 hours ended. Speaker Drevnik, abandoned by his allies and facing certain defeat, picked up the document called the Terran Accords. Ambassador Yuna stood before him. Her face showed no triumph, no gloating, only patience. If I sign this, Drevnik said, everything changes. This just makes it official. Drevnik pressed his mark to the document. The old order was officially dead. I have one question, he said. How long did you plan this? Yuna considered the question carefully. From the moment you called us animals, we started taking notes. 18 years of notes. 18 years of planning. 18 years of waiting for this exact moment. She took the signed document and walked away. Behind her, Drevnik sat alone, finally understanding the price of arrogance. 6 months passed. The galaxy looked very different now. The Terran Accords had reshaped everything. Full human sovereignty was recognized by every major power. The old restrictions were gone forever. Human ships traveled freely through space that had once been forbidden to them. Human colonies spread across worlds that they had been told they could never touch. But more importantly, the way species treated each other had begun to change. Counselor Heian stood in a hospital on the outskirts of New Seoul. Around her, former prisoners from the labor camps received treatment and counseling. Many had spent years in terrible conditions. Their bodies could be healed quickly, their minds would take longer. How many have we brought home? She asked her assistant. 14,812. The last transport arrived this morning. 14,000 people. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, all taken because they had dared to speak against the treaties. All abandoned for years because Earth had not been strong enough to save them. Heian walked through the recovery ward. An old woman sat by a window looking at the sky. Real sky. Earth sky. Blue and full of clouds. Is it strange to be back? Heian asked gently. The woman turned. Her face was thin, marked by years of hard work and little food. But her eyes were clear. I spent 9 years dreaming of this sky, she said. Some nights I forgot what blue looked like. I thought I would die in that gray place and never see home again. She reached out and touched the window glass. Thank you for not forgetting us. I never forgot, Heian replied. We just were not ready. Now we are. On Luna, Admiral Mina walked through a memorial that was still being built. Stone pillars rose toward the black sky, each one carved with names. Names of those who died in the labor camps. Names of those who built the Ghost Fleet in secret and never lived to see it wake. Names of soldiers who fell in the brief war that followed the Great Revealing. Lieutenant Wu Jin walked beside her. He had been promoted twice in 6 months, but he still felt like the young officer who had asked his captain if they were really doing this. 1,200 names so far, Mina said. More are being added every day as we learn who we lost. Was it worth it? Wu Jin asked. All the secrecy, all the waiting, all the pretending to be weak while they laughed at us. Mina stopped walking. She looked at the stars above Luna. Human ships patrolled out there now. Strong ships, proud ships. I asked myself that question every day for 18 years. Every time some alien insulted us, every time I had to smile and bow and say nothing. Was the plan worth the pain? She turned to face Wu Jin. Now I know the answer. It was not about worth. It was about survival. We did what we had to do to survive. And then we did what we had to do to make sure we would never be weak again. Far away on Station Orinth, the first session of the new Galactic Assembly was about to begin. The old chamber had been rebuilt. The seating was different now. No more high and low positions. Every species sat at the same level. Ambassador Sarek of the Doth Collective met with Ambassador Yuna before the session. The Doth were a small species, four-legged and gentle. For centuries, they had been ignored by the great powers. Now they led a coalition of minor species allied with Earth. "Thank you for supporting us," Yuna said. "When everyone else was against us, you stood with humanity." Sarek made a gesture that meant appreciation among his people. "We watched them mock you, and we knew the feeling. For 100 years we were mocked the same way. When you rose up, you gave hope to every small species in the galaxy. Eli, we did not plan to become liberators. We just wanted to be treated fairly. That is exactly why you became liberators. You wanted for others what you wanted for yourselves. That is rare. That is precious. That is why we follow you." The assembly session began. Representatives from 62 species filled the chamber. 15 new species had joined since the accords were signed. Others were asking to join every week. Ambassador Yuna rose to speak. The chamber fell silent. 6 months ago, they had laughed at her. Now they listened with respect. 18 years ago, I stood in a room much like this one and asked to be treated as an equal. I was denied. I was mocked. I was told that humanity was too young, too primitive, too savage to deserve a place among civilized species. She paused and looked around the room. Old enemies sat next to new friends. Species that had once conquered each other now worked together. I could stand here today and say that we proved them wrong. That humanity showed its strength and earned its place through force. But that is not the lesson I want us to take from this moment. Yuna's voice grew softer, but somehow it filled the entire chamber. The lesson is this: every species has worth. Every people deserves dignity. When we look at a stranger and see only weakness, we miss the strength hiding beneath. When we mock those who are different, we make enemies of those who could be friends. The galaxy spent centuries building walls between species. Today, we begin tearing them down. She stepped back from the podium. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then the Doth delegation began to applaud in their way, tapping their front legs against the floor. Others joined. Soon the entire assembly was filled with the sounds of approval from 62 different species on Earth. Director Hansu watched the speech from his garden. He had retired the week after the accords were signed. 50 years of service, 50 years of secrets and plans in waiting. He was tired, but it was a good tired. A young girl from the house next door ran past, chasing a ball. She stopped when she saw the old man sitting alone. "Hello, Mr. Hansu," she said. "What are you watching?" "Just the news, little one. Important things happening far away." The girl looked up at the sky. Night was falling, and the first stars were appearing. Among them, lights moved slowly across the darkness. Ships. Human ships. "My mother says those are our ships," the girl said. "She says they protect us." Hansu smiled. "Your mother is right. They make sure no one ever tells us we are not good enough again. Were we not good enough before?" The question was innocent. The girl had been born after the accords. She would never know what it felt like to be treated as less than human by the rest of the galaxy. "Some people thought so," Hansu said. "They were wrong. They just needed to be shown how wrong they were." The girl ran off to chase her ball. Hansu watched her go, then returned his eyes to the sky. 18 years of hiding. 18 years of planning. 18 years of swallowing pride and pretending to be weak. It had been hard. It had been painful. But sitting here now, watching children play under open skies, while human ships guarded the stars above, Hansu knew it was worth every moment. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not by begging, not by waiting, by standing up and demanding to be seen. Somewhere out there among the stars, humanity's children would grow up proud. They would never know what it felt like to be mocked. They would never have to smile while being insulted. They would walk through the galaxy with their heads held high. That was the gift that Hansu's generation had given to the future. It was the only gift that mattered. The old man closed his eyes and listened to the sound of children laughing. Above him, the stars burned bright with promise. Humanity had arrived, and the universe would never forget it.